Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Everyday Heroes podcast. Today, I have a special guest, and I know I say that all the time, but so many of these guest speakers share so much information that we as parents need. We need this information to be able to handle what's thrown at us when we are raising autistic children. Now, I want to introduce you to Kirsty. She is the founder of Jivita, and I am really passionate about it because I don't know about you, but I have walked into countless supermarkets only to look at the back of ingredients to see that they are laden with toxic chemicals. Now, our autistic kiddos are already up against so much, and they don't need to be having an added load to their system by us unknowingly giving them things that are no good for them. So, Kirsty, welcome to the podcast. How are you going today?
Thanks for having me. Other than being very, very cold, I'm very happy to be here and absolutely been loving watching all the stuff that you've been putting out. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So tell me a little bit about why you created Jivita. Like, why was it something that you found it was so important to share with the world?
Well, you just summated it really well, actually. I've been a holistic and exercise coach for about 20 years and trying to share with people how to biohack or just upgrade their life by picking products, brands that are working for them just as much as they are then supporting the brands. And people would go out and they would think that they had done the right thing. They thought that they had bought the right product. They have spent time and money only to then come back and realize that they have been greenwashed, or actually there was something in the product that they didn't realize, and actually it was a chemical smorgasbord. So it was through frustration, really. And I didn't want to be aligned with only one brand, because obviously even within brands, you can have your favorites and things that perhaps don't necessarily always align. And so I wanted to be able to have the authority and be able to hand select products that actually only like I would use myself. So many brands out there that are like a health food store online or a health store online, many of their products I still wouldn't use myself. So I wanted to create something that was just radically truthful.
I love that so much, because what I often hear from parents from my side is that they are too time poor, they're too overwhelmed, they're too stressed out, and they don't have the education on how to read an ingredient label. Like, these people don't understand.
So disappointing. Like, you think you've done the right thing and probably you've spent a lot of money on it as well. And you get home and you're so proud of it, to then have that realization is so deflating and very frustrating. I'm fully on board. It's happened to me enough times in the past that I just didn't want other people to feel the same.
And I think it's just so hard. Like, as parents raising autistic children, we feel like we've already got enough on our plates. Like, we're like, throw us a bone. Come on. Like, I want to walk into the supermarket and be able to pick up something and be like, yes, I can give my child this. And I've done my research and I know what's going on. But the fact that our companies are out there that are greenwashing is insane. Now, for the people who are listening, can you explain what greenwashing is?
So greenwashing is basically saying that you're something that you're not. So it might use the word organic in the label, or natural, or healthy even, or even the phrase non-toxic. And then actually they're not. It's like a gimmick word. They've put it in a placement where they haven't had to have it certified or haven't had to have that authenticated. And so it's on the label to market, to lure you into believing that this product is something that it isn't.
Absolutely. And I have definitely had my fair share of greenwashing in my time. And
Yeah, me too.
and it's
Yeah.
and you get so angry because you're just like, why? Why is this even allowed? When, like, where is the government authorities? Like, why aren't these people trying to protect us, as opposed to just letting willy-nilly company, put it out there that we're like the most amazing thing, only to find out that you're actually doing more harm than good? When did no harm become lost in the way of how we're thinking?
I think we're moving into an era where we are the governing body. where as consumers, we become that. So for example, even on Jivita, we are not perfect. We do strive to scrape through absolutely everything, but we did stock a candle company that claimed all the things, all the bells and whistles, and I've stocked them for a number of years, and they had then introduced a synthetic fragrance into their brand. And we eventually picked it up thanks to a customer. And we then hit them up and sent them all of their adverts and said, you are literally claiming that you're non-toxic, yet here, and here, these ingredients are shown to have such detrimental effects on people. Like, why? And the second we wrote to them, they just started, like, we had such a great relationship prior to that, and they just didn't respond at all. But obviously they've been cleaned off Jivita. We've then gone and done our due diligence, found another brand that is 100% aligned, and we now stock those. So brands do also change their ethics. They sell to another company and the new owners don't have the same ethos. So that's also challenging to navigate. And with platforms like Jivita, we become a community together, and it's power in numbers, where somebody just may not have, or they may have let something slip. The collective ends up picking it up and holding each other with such beautiful, it feels like a hug, to be honest, because there's no shaming coming from me or Jivita about any way that anybody lives. And therefore that kind of, it transpires into this beautiful group of people that just want everybody in that group to thrive. And if you're not in the group, of course. And that, again, radical truthfulness, authenticity is the only requirement.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to deviate for the conversation for a second, and I want to ask, I want you to spill the tea for all the listeners that are listening right now around why there are so many, like, what's going on with our water, with our skincare, with our food, our household items. Like, are we really like overinflating the fact that there are so many chemicals in these things, or is that the reality? Like, what can you just share with us, like, the damaging effects that are happening in these products?
Woof. To spill. Yes. Well, we can think of it, even unfortunately, just even starting with our food. If you think of the best quality food, which is biodynamic, grass-fed, grass-finished, pasture-raised animals versus conventionally farmed animals, it's much cheaper to create a shed and house hundreds, if not thousands of animals in there and not treat them well, and just to keep them enclosed, than have acres and acres and acres and actually get onto the farm, actually touch the plants, deal with the soil, test with the soil, be with the animals. Are they healthy animals? It takes manpower. And so, unfortunately, it has become diluted and very convoluted in whichever conversation you're talking about, whether it be water, skincare, just plain food. And it's so much cheaper to not get involved. And it's the inconvenient convenience. And what unfortunately I learned through my journey of living holistically is that anything that is more convenient, and this is just a story we tell ourselves, right? But anything that is more convenient, unfortunately, is probably inconveniently wrong for you. Whether it be microwaves or, packaged meals or anything in a packet, to be honest. And that isn't a sweeping brush. Obviously, there are anomalies there. However, what I have found is that is true. But the good thing is when you do start to engage with whatever conversation of this holistic journey we're talking about, the connection creates so much energy for you and actually creates more energy than the convenience of having the chemical laden whatever subject we're talking about, and actually connecting back with our food. Like, you can do DIY so many things, and people are thinking, oh, that's really time consuming, but just step by step, one thing by one thing. The first thing I did on my holistic journey is I like to set an intention for myself every day. And the first intention I set myself, after having this like smorgasbord of information exploded in my face, it felt like, was to be kind to myself and only integrate one thing at a time. And then slowly, now I look back and I'm 15 years deep, and I lead two very different lives. And I think that is the trick for me, in navigating this, because unfortunately we do not live in a society that support us in this journey anymore. It is changing. And so, from water to the pipes that the water sits in, it's not getting changed regularly. And the quality of the water, because the pipes are now rusty and are not being held with intention and reverence, the product that we are getting is not going to be that great. So they have to literally stop it from killing us. So they have to then put in chemicals to protect us from that. I do understand that component. We don't all live on farms where we can have rain tanks and Ryan Gosling's tears dripping over us to wash us, but then that matter of filtration, and the beautiful thing about today is there are so many options for us that we want when we want to live and start stepping towards this. Is a varied amount of price points, from starting to doing the whole hog and being like, Dave Asprey, and being like, biohacking absolutely everything in your life. And it's all a spectrum, like 80-20, 90-10, all of that's going to look completely different for people. But obviously, just going from water, the fluoride, chlorine, E. coli, bacteria, I don't think you necessarily need 10 years of studies to understand that that's not that great for you. And to consume an animal that has never seen the light of day, that has never eaten food that I would consider to be food at all, to be pumped through with antibiotics, hormones, and growth hormones, and all the vaccines that could be possibly known to man, whether you're pro or anti-vaccine, it's irrelevant. There are a lot that are completely misused. If you're going to consume that animal and you're expecting to lead a life that's thriving, there's a dissonance there. And yeah, I could go on and dive into each topic, to be honest. So I'll stop myself there, because it's a complex and also super simple conversation. It's coming back to nature, coming back to connection, and making things simple. Like, one of my best dinners this week has literally been a bone marrow patty on top of some rocket with a little bit of cherry tomatoes dropped on. Oh, and I put some goat's blue cheese on the top of the patty as well. Like, that was it. That's a very simple thing to make. And it wasn't that expensive. It would be cheaper than if I went to McDonald's. And it was a grass-fed finished patty. Like, it doesn't have to be complicated. The challenge is a lot of people are at the bottom or near to the bottom of this very huge conversation, which is seen as a huge mountain. And as an avid hiker myself, when I'm about to climb a mountain that is going to take me a few days, I tend not to really look up that much and consider how far I have to go. I take in where I am and just keep my feet moving forward and enjoy the scenery, but don't take in the insurmountable height of this mountain. And sooner or later, you're at the top.
Yeah, I love that. That's very much what you just said about climbing the mountain. That's what it feels like for parents raising autistic children. If we look too far in the future, it can be so overwhelming and so daunting and so scary that we feel frozen, that we feel like we can't move forward because we don't have the tools, the strategies, the tips, the whatever it is, the mindset to be able to move forward. But if we just look down at our feet and we just walk that one step, two step in front, let's just walk here. Let's not look too far into the future. We can actually get a long way. The reality is, when I went on this journey, before I went on this journey with my son, I was the kind of person that thought if I walked into the supermarket, everything was healthy. Everything was good to go, right? Didn't know any different. And then when I started diving deeper into gut health and understanding how our gut really is our second brain, and how, if we're eating things that are bad for us, it's going to impact our brain and the way that we sleep, talk, interact, concentrate, focus, whatever it is, it's going to have an impact. So I definitely have felt like I've been on a journey and really trying to understand what that looks like for parents. And not everyone has the ability to, I guess, do as many things as I have done. I'm sure people look at me as the exception and not the rule, because I run a very strict ship when it comes to the way that we cook. However, I wanted to ask you, if you were to tell parents of autistic children what's one thing that they can do today? What would you share with them?
Oh, can I have two?
Absolutely, yes.
So water, filter your water. If you're doing nothing else, filter it. It's the lowest hanging fruit for the biggest bang across anyone actually's life. So if you're not filtering your drinking water yet, that is an absolute must. Filtering shower and bath water can come down the track, but that would be the next protocol. And you don't need to get a filtration for the whole house. You can get screw-ons for the tap. So whether you're renting or you've bought your house, it's irrelevant. The second would be to cook whole food, cook yourself. There are very few companies that, in fact, on the top of my head, I can only think of two. That's how limited it is in Australia. And that's the Sweet Potato Kitchen and the Good Farm Shop. They do prepackaged meals that are like tick, 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 tick. But if you can just cook for yourself, and again, it doesn't have to be complex, heating up a piece of meat and just having whole food, even if it's not quite available to you to have organic and to shoot for those things, cooking whole food with oils, it's going to take you a really, really long way. And you'll probably find then you don't need the supplementation and you don't need those additions because you're actually giving yourself proper nutrition. Like, again, it comes back to that saying that if you want to thrive, then eat foods that's thriving.
I love that. Do you have two questions back to you? In terms of the water filtrations for drinking water, do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Waters Co is my go-to. I used to use a company that actually unfortunately dissolved through the owner passing away. But Waters Co has a really beautiful array of, from like a Brita filter style jug, which is around the $100 mark, to a full in-house kit. They also do shower and bath taps. They do little travel things. Like, I think I bought my first travel filter through them maybe 10 years ago, and it's probably been to like however many countries with me now. Like, I just, every time I go, I do like a little video and then like link it all together of wherever I go, unless I'm obviously going to Asia. So if I go to Bali or Thailand, I don't take my filter because it doesn't do the job. But everywhere else, yeah, it's just been such a game changer. I can chuck it in my handbag and away I go. To be honest, they have been my absolute go-to. Other companies that I have found, there's something that I don't love. So a lot of people will actually use chemicals to filter out chemicals. So you're filtering out chemicals, then you're putting back in chemicals. That doesn't really resonate with me. I like to keep it simple and cost effective. And the Waters Co company uses carbon filtration systems. So even when you think the filter is done, you can pull it out and give it a shake. Mother Nature didn't mess up, right? It kind of loosens everything up and then you can filter away again. There are other companies out there that are amazing and are doing fantastic things, but Waters Co is definitely my go-to.
Okay, I will grab those links with you, or from you, sorry, after our podcast, and I will pop them in the show notes so that everyone has access to those links. One last thing that I wanted to ask you before we go into rapid fire questions is, the reality is that we're living in a very tech savvy world, right? I'm talking to you, we're going live on Instagram and Facebook. Like, we are constantly surrounded by Wi-Fi and by the 5G towers and everything else. What is, like, do we need to be worried about EMF? Do we need to be worried about the radiation coming from and emitting from these things?
So I love, again, this notion of progression, not perfection. So yes, we live in a modern world. We live with a smorgasbord of chemicals and EMFs and all the things coming into us. And I think part of the conversation that we find ourselves in now, a lot of people get captured by this need for perfection. It's doing those small things that move you towards not depleting your battery. So simple things like turning off your Wi-Fi at night when you're not using it. Because yes, EMFs do disrupt you at a cellular level and then can increase the ability to cross that blood-brain barrier. And that's the biggest question mark and the reason why people are becoming very aware and mindful around EMFs. And particularly if you're dealing with autistic children, that barrier is going to be very sensitive as it is. And so there are, again, very simple things you can do. Make sure you do not have your smart box for the meter reading at the back of your bedroom door. And if you do, you need to move today. You need to get that bedroom, and you need to get you, the child, whoever it is that has that smart meter, right next to them, and move them, move the bed, move bedrooms, do whatever you need to do. Turning the Wi-Fi off at nighttime can really help. And also grounding is a really just simple, free way. Take your shoes and socks off and get out into the garden. If you don't have a garden, get down to the park, or get a bucket of water, fill it full of a little bit of Epsom salts and put your feet in water. But getting our hands and feet to touch Mother Nature will also help regulate and get the cells nice and plump again and talking to each other really, really well. Some people are a lot more sensitive to EMFs than others. Like my partner doesn't notice it at all, whereas I am incredibly sensitive. If I hold an iPhone in my hand without any kind of protection around it, I will get shooting pains all down my arm. And so I have a very daggy one that needs to be replaced, but this is just an EMF protecting case. We turn our Wi-Fi off at night, and I personally find it makes a huge difference. We live in an era where frequency and the energy in our surroundings it's so intense. And so actually we have to be active in unraveling and unwinding our nervous systems. It's a challenge to have a regulated nervous system in this world. And that's taking out of conversation any other mitigating factors like autism. So one of the things I really loved learning actually was putting your feet in the ocean as the tide's going out is an incredible way to regulate your cells and to help draw out any EMFs that have gotten stuck. There's companies, which I'm happy to share the links with as well, so you can share them along, that do like grounding mats and grounding bed sheets as well. So if one great way to work out if your child or you are sensitive to these, it doesn't mean you're not being affected if you're not sensitive, but to work out whether you are, is to turn off the Wi-Fi at night, and perhaps to have a little ritual before you go to bed to help your body move it through, and then see if your sleep improves. So a lot of people, a friend of mine, he tosses and turns at night if the Wi-Fi or his phone is left on close by, and he will wake up and he's like raveled in his sheets. And if he turns the Wi-Fi off and puts his phone on airplane mode, he has the best sleep ever. So that's an example of that. So hitting it from two prongs, hitting from the outside in, which is the same conversation as every other conversation within this. So turning things off, as well as helping your body then move through what it already has. So those grounding techniques and like the feet and the hands are huge. Get them onto Mother Nature as well.
How do you ground in wintertime? So like right now, we're both in Melbourne. It's freezing outside. Are you taking your socks and shoes off and going to walk in the park? Like how do we ground when it's cold?
So baths is how I ground in winter. I will increase my bath, or if you don't have a bath, you can just get yourself like a little foot spa thing. Get yourself even a bucket, fill it full of hot water, put some Epsom salts in there. Obviously, filtered water is ideal, but if it isn't, don't stress about it. The Epsom salts are the crucial component to that. And you can use your hands. So going out and just putting your hands on a tree, or just playing with leaves, like doing some gardening with your hands. You can be completely rugged up and have your hands in soil. So I'm a big advocate of that. The bacteria that sits in soil, once it touches your hands, actually has this amazing interaction with your body that it increases your serotonin. Like there's no mess up in Mother Nature. And the more you come back to her, and the more you come back to the simplistic ways of living, the more connected you feel and the better you feel, because you're just simplifying life and living closer to the way we should be living.
100%, absolutely. I will definitely get the link for the phone case, because mine is, if you saw mine, you'd be like, Nat, what are you doing? Like, come on. Like, I don't think we can do better than this. So I will get that from you. Okay. First of all, before we go into rapid fire questions, can you tell everyone where they can find you?
So obviously on the Jivita website. So we have about 2,500 products that obviously support all aspects of holistic living. Instagram is at the Jivita Way. Yeah, those are probably the two places, the easiest places.
Okay, great. All right. Okay, so what's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Decide who you want to be and live that way radically.
Yes. What's the most surprising thing that you've learned from living a low tox life?
The beauty of it, actually. And I don't mean like the products or like the inner beauty of it, of how much more connected you feel to yourself, how you actually get to step towards a life that actually means something to you because you're living more of an authentic life and you're showing up in a way that actually has connection. You value connection and you value the simple things in life. So yeah, I'd actually say it's more of the inner journey, and then the realization of the what I call the glimmers in life, like how the light hits a tree or the smile of a stranger as you walk past them, and how we can really and directly affect our inner being, inner wellness, and therefore the people that we come into contact with. It's like that sentence of always leaving the garden a little bit greener than when we arrived, and living your life as that. You slowly step into a space where you're having the best party within yourself that, people then want to come and join you. And you're not actually shooting for that though. So it's a really beautiful journey of initially looking outside of yourself and then having enough trust, resilience, and connection on board that it comes from within.
I love those words so much, and they resonate so much with me, and I hope they do from our listeners, because there is a lot to unpack there, and a lot of beliefs that really need to be reconstructed and really pulled back, because we've been conditioned to think that going to the supermarket is the only way to buy food and vegetables and household items.
100%. I think we've very much been brought up, or I know that I have, in a society that disempowers you, makes you believe that you don't have the power, you don't have the intelligence or the wherewithal to work things out. You have to look outside of you and you have to trust authorities that are outside of you. And it's just not the case. Some of my biggest health breakthroughs has come from intuition. And I put it in quotes to make it try and a little bit more palatable for people, where suddenly internally my body has said to me something, and a sentence, a word, a phrase has come to me. And then when I've investigated that further, it's been exactly what my body was going through. And we're told, particularly as women and in this society as general, so men as well, to not trust that voice, and to also, what is that voice? Like, it's not something to even listen to, and to separate that from other noises that are happening within us has been the most powerful journey for me. And realizing that actually I do have the power and I do have the authority over my own body and what happens within my own sphere.
So true, we do. And especially when you are raising an autistic child, that intuition just gets flicked off, because you're
And
in such a huge.
because you are with this child more than anybody. Like, so to then go to a doctor or anyone and have them cast an aspersion over yours and your child's life to say you need to do ABC, if there is, like, question it, just question everything. And if you're too tired to question it, get a friend to come and help you get curious about it. Like, work out your top priority, your biggest bang for moving forward, and just do that one thing. And that one thing will empower you. And if you're lacking in confidence, the one way to increase your confidence is to do the things that you've said you're going to do. And even if that means one thing a week, one thing a month, it doesn't matter. If you commit to yourself to trying doing, exploring one thing and you actually do it, that is going to be the best investment you'll ever make.
So true. I hope everyone heard that. I really do. I hope everyone heard that loud and clear. Is there a book that you would recommend for parents to read?
I probably should have had this one ahead of time. So many.
If you want to come back to me, that's fine. It's not a problem. But I just wanted to ask you in case something come up to mind at the moment.
Yeah, so a few. There's The Body Keeps the Score is an amazing one. So much of what we experience physically has had to go through the emotional, spiritual realms first. So there's a really beautiful way to treat your body is, again, you can do it from the outside in or the inside out. So understanding elements that our communication of our body is trying to speak to us, it does empower you to then help your body in a much more effective way. So for example, liver holds anger in the body. So then exploring any anger that you have in your system, if you have liver symptoms, you can then explore, why would I be angry? And again, getting curious about that, journaling. Why am I pissed off? And actually seeing what comes out. And you'll be surprised. A lot of people in this conversation are going to be pretty pissed off about a lot of things, and not shaming yourself about it. Every emotion is allowed. The only emotion that isn't allowed is suppression. So suppressing anything, that's not allowed. But everything else, get it out, get it out, get it out, get it out. And through exploring this way, I have managed to navigate so many things that are going on for me purely by exploring the emotional component of whatever sign and symptom I am experiencing. It is so powerful. I could not recommend it more. The Eat and Be Healthy by Paul Chek is an amazing starting point. Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, by Mr. Paul Chek. And he goes into just the beginning components of a lot of this conversation. So what is pasteurization and why should we care? What is, to do with milk? What is homogenization and why should we care? What happens to chickens? And he goes into everything within this book, as well as then moving into an exercise routine that you can use at home, a moving meditation routine, again, correlating it to different organs, glands, muscles. So if you're feeling like a little bit of your body needs a certain attention, it's all housed in this book. Lab to Table by Cindy O'Meara. That's a phenomenal deep dive in a similar retrospect as Paul, but without the exercise and the movement. I will write you a list if you like.
Please do write me a list, because I will put it in the show notes, because parents are often asking me, are there any books? Are there any podcasts? Like, what should we be listening to, reading? Because it can be very overwhelming to know which way to go and what to read. And it's also time consuming too. So you want to make sure that what you're reading is going to help. Okay, so last question I have for you is, do you have a favorite motto or saying?
Ooh. You've always had the power, my dear. You've just had to remember it for yourself.
Yes. It
used to be on my coaching business cards. If you hang out with me too long, then maybe you'll start believing in yourself. It's the best gift I think we can give each other. Is to, again, I feel like I've said this about 4 or 5 times, is to live in a way that's so radically authentic to who you want to be, and holding each other as a mirror as well. So like not allowing each other to sit in our shit and to thrash around in, what I call set B, which is when we're not in a place where we're working towards who and what we could be. It's believing in the creator, the beauty, and the individuation that each of us have to hold and offer to this world, and not letting the stories that we make up allow us to sabotage that.
So true. Thank you so much for your time, Kirsty. I really appreciate you coming on and just sharing so much of your passion, because as parents, we need to be reminded that we do have the power, but B, we also need someone to point us in the right direction sometimes when the world can be a bit noisy. So thank you so much for your time.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, Kirsty. Bye. See you later.
Bye.